Alrighty guys, welcome back to another one. In today's breakdown video, we're going to do a bit of a cheaper slug on the market. This is the Black Aces Tactical GT9. Now, what I will say about them is there's still a standard 1 ounce Foster slug. I'm assuming Foster slug here. I don't know, but it looks like it probably is. But these are moving a little bit faster than you typically see with, Federals or Winchesters. Remingtons, these are moving 1650, so a little bit faster, although, as we know, manufacturers very often overstate their velocity, sometimes even payload weights. That is very, very common. I doubt these are actually moving that fast. Going over the box design here, well, I have to be honest, it's kind of boring. Not that, the box is what we're here to see, but it's gray and white, black. Not a very exciting looking box, but then again, these are a budget option. 10 of these is not much more than what you would pay for a 5-round box of, say, Winchesters. Just for, example there. But this side of it, it's just a barcode. The top of it is their logo, GT9. I don't know what GT9 means, but has our specs, 10 plastic cartridges, high velocity slug. This side of it is just some warnings. Who wants to read any of that? The bottom of it is even more warnings. Exciting. And the back of it is once again our specs and what this is. The GT9 Black Aces 12 gauge slug. Anyway, yeah, the box is kind of bland. Moving on to the hull. The hull is not much better, although it's black. I don't often see black 12 gauge shells, although, yes, they are extremely common. But in this area, anything done with a black 12 gauge shell is kind of hard to come by, unless you're talking stuff like Remington game loads, These have a, I believe, zinc-plated steel head on them, not brass-plated this time. And I believe this is an NSI hull. It's too smooth and shiny to be a Rio. They usually have a matte finish with more pronounced ribbing. This is much smoother. And that looks like a NSI primer or a Rio. They look very close. But the head stamp, it just says 12 with a bunch of stars like most European shells do. You see that very commonly with stuff like Shadot, sometimes Fiocchi, Rio, NSI, and the list goes on. But these are done with a roll crimp. That always looks nice. We have our slug in there. It does have a rather puny hollow point cavity. The roll crimp itself is not very even. You can see it's kind of egg-shaped. But the hull itself says Black Aces Tactical 1050 FPS 1 ounce slug, 2 3/4 inch GT9. Again, I'm not sure what GT9 means, especially considering this is a slug, not buckshot. 12 gauge double-aught buck, for a tactical style load, is generally 9 pellets. And something tactical 9 would make sense if this is buckshot, but this is a slug, so I really have no idea. But I guess without further ado, let's crack this open. I'll just unroll it. And let's see how they put this together. I don't think this is a tail wad slug. I'm fairly sure it's a Foster style. But I've never seen anyone do a video on these, or let alone take them apart. You can see right here where my thumbnail is, that is where the crimp line ends. So, let's unroll it. So, starting in the reverse order that we usually go in, I like to start with the payload weight, shot, buckshot, slug, whatever it may be first, and then work my way down to the hull. But this time, we're going to start with the hull. Obviously, this being European, it is straight wall. I really do not think this is a Shadot hull, because that is not a Shadot primer, nor does this look like a Shadot base wad to me. I believe this is an NSI hull. Other than that, there's really not too much to note here. Yeah, the hull is a little bit worse for wear, but when I re-roll this, it'll look just fine, I promise. Yep, just a straight wall European shell. Again, I believe it's NSI. The black and the chrome do look pretty good together, though. I'll give it that. I like black and gold a bit better personally, but here's the powder. It is more of the really cool bluish green flake powder. I would call that maybe seafoam green. If you're into guitars, seafoam green is about this color. It looks pretty nice. I will weigh that in just a moment, but here's our slug, and yeah, the slug did sustain a little bit of damage from the needle nose pliers, but that's okay. This actually fit really, really tight in the hull. That's why you see the damage to the hull too, but I was wrong. This is a tail wad style slug. I have never seen this tail wad before, though. It does look rather interesting. I do not see the maker's stamp in the powder reservoir anywhere. Usually, like with the Azot wads, you'll see the Guandi stamp in there. This has nothing, but it's very, very similar to an Azot wad or the FT12, things like that. But I've never seen this. So let's separate these and see how much the slug actually weighs, and weigh our powder, and then weigh the slug and tail wad together. I wonder if it actually is a 1 ounce slug. It looks like it. So it looks like we have about 24.5 grains in here, making this a medium speed powder. It's not a fast burning powder. This is a 1 ounce slug moving 1650 FPS, as they advertise anyway. So I'm getting a weight of 434.5 grains. 1 ounce is 437 or 438 grains, depending on how you look at it. And this probably was a full 1 ounce slug. I accidentally shaved off a little bit, as you guys can see, so I feel comfortable calling this a 1 ounce slug all day. If we roll over to ounces, it's 0.993. As close as you can get to an ounce without it actually being an ounce. And, well, here's what the slug looks like. Focus, there we go. It is a rifled slug. You can see the angled spines on it. It doesn't have a very good hollow point cavity, but it does have a very deep cavity in the slug, though. Kind of is just a fairly typical Foster slug here. Here's the tail wad. Once again, very similar to the Azot or FT12, but the piece that actually goes up inside the slug, obviously it's much, much wider than those wads have, and it's a little bit taller too, this being a this slug has a much wider, deeper cavity than the Azot style slugs have. But it seems to be made out of pretty rigid plastic, good material, doesn't look like it would fail. Pretty hard. So I think these are actually a pretty decent design. I have high hopes for them. We still got to measure the slug and tail wad combo together. 1 second. Entire payload here is about 1 1/8 ounces. 1 1/8 is 1.125. We are at 1.100. So yeah, almost a 1 1/8 ounce payload here. That's pretty interesting. See, the box says 1 ounce. I feel like if this was just about any other brand, they would have claimed 1 1/8 ounces, even though clearly it's not. But these two together weigh almost 1 1/8 ounce. Winchester's done that with their deer season 12 gauge slug, the 1 1/8 ounce. Yeah, it's actually a 1 ounce slug. The tail wad is the other 1/8 ounce. We are doing a range video on these, and I am actually, once again, pretty hopeful these will be decently accurate. I really do think they will be. We'll test them out of a smoothbore and a rifled barrel. Slugs like this are meant for both. Some people say you can't shoot rifled slugs out of rifled barrels. It ruins the accuracy and leads the barrel up. In our experience, and we've shot hundreds through a rifled barrel, that is not true at all. They either don't change accuracy whatsoever or help them out just a little bit. Obviously, rifled slugs are intended for smoothbore, and they're plenty accurate out of one. Once again, the rifled barrels do sometimes improve accuracy a little bit over a smoothbore, but not all the time. Anyway, guys, stay tuned for the range video on these. I'm going to roll this back up together, and we'll see if I can make it look presentable. And here it is, put back together. It actually went back together really well. A lot better than I thought. This one now has a beautiful taper on it, thanks to the B.A.T BN2. I might go ahead and taper the rest of these, but Overall, I'm happy with the way it came out. It's got a little bit of line around it, but that's okay. It's not going to hurt nothing. Guys, there is a breakdown on Black Ace's Tactical GT9 12 gauge 1 ounce slug at 1650 FPS. Honestly, I think these are put together fairly well. Sometimes price does not reflect quality, and these seem to be a quality shell. Now I can say that, and whenever we shoot these at the range, we could have terrible accuracy, but at least here on the bench, they seem to be a pretty respectable shell. Anyway, stay tuned for the range video. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.